In 1975, there was a country, one of the most industrialized nations in all of Asia. Electricity production, 5 times the regional average. Chemical fertilizer output, 20 times. It was outperforming most European developing nations. And now, dead last in the Economic Freedom Index out of 177 countries. Per capita income, less than 1% of what it once was. How is that even possible? One person, the choices of a single man brought this entire country to its knees. That's the story we're telling today. Early 1950s, the northern part of the Korean peninsula was, quite literally, rubble. 60% of its industrial facilities destroyed by war. Over 800,000 casualties, the entire country reduced to ashes. At that point, most economists believed recovery would take at minimum several decades. But within 10 years, something remarkable happened. How? 2 things. The first, Cold War geopolitics. The world at that time was defined by the US and the Soviet Union, each side pouring money into whatever countries they claimed as allies. North Korea's geographic position was a strategic asset that neither the Soviets nor China could afford to lose. So both superpowers funneled enormous support into the country. The second, total national mobilization. The leader at the time, Kim Il-sung, launched a massive state-run production campaign, calling it the Cholima movement. Let us all charge forward like the 1,000-mile horse. The result? By the 1960s, North Korea was one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia. Electricity output, 5 times the Asian developing country average. Chemical fertilizer, 20 times. Even compared to fellow communist states like Cuba and Romania, North Korea was holding its own. Kim Il-sung stood before his people and declared, "I will make sure you eat white rice and meat soup." And for a while, it actually looked like he meant it. But there was a problem. He wanted too much. Build up the military, expand heavy industry, grow light manufacturing, modernize agriculture, all at once. He poured 30% of the annual national budget into defense, then ordered the rest to develop every sector simultaneously. Resources were finite. His ambition was not. And then he made it worse by refusing outside help. He called it the self-reliance economic doctrine. Sounds noble, right? The reality? The rest of the world was already moving toward interconnected, cooperative economies. North Korea stepped off that train alone, and by the mid-1960s, economic growth had begun to slow down sharply. Now here's where it gets genuinely unbelievable. The moment the economy started wobbling, Kim Il-sung quietly dropped the whole self-reliance thing. And in the early 1970s, he spotted an opportunity. Post-war reconstruction in Europe was complete, and banks were flush with cash. Kim Il-sung moved fast. Between 1971 and 1980, North Korea borrowed $2.27 billion. The plan was straightforward. Borrow the money, make products, export them, repay the loans. Classic development economics. And at first, it seemed to work. The capital injection revived the economy. Pyongyang got a subway system. In 1974, color television broadcasting began. On the surface, prosperity appeared to be returning. But there was a fatal flaw. Making products is one thing. Selling them is another. In the Cold War climate, Western nations simply weren't buying North Korean goods. Trade was severely restricted. Deficits kept mounting. Then, in the mid-1970s, the oil shock hit the entire world. Crude oil prices exploded. Factory operating costs skyrocketed. North Korea couldn't even cover basic trade payments. They were out of options. So what did Kim Il-sung decide to do? Make us. He declared a debt default. Just decided, not paying it back. As of 2013, North Korea's unpaid debt to over 30 countries stood at $14 billion. They crashed into the category of international credit defaulter. And yet, nothing happened to them. Because of the Cold War. To the Soviet Union and China, North Korea was still too valuable a strategic asset to abandon. The countries owed the money had no military option. They could only watch, furious and helpless. But the story doesn't stop there. Into the 1980s, Kim Il-sung developed a strange obsession, not economic recovery, image. In 1988, the Seoul Olympics, 160 nations, a globally symbolic event marking the approaching end of the Cold War. The entire world was watching. Kim Il-sung couldn't stand it. "We're doing ours too." In 1989, the Pyongyang World Festival of Youth and Students, a stadium built for 150,000 people. Lavish architectural complexes constructed across the city. Total cost, $6 billion. But in a communist system, you can't generate revenue from the buildings you put up. No real estate sales, no rental income. It ended as pure spectacle. And then, he threw another $7 billion at a massive floodgate construction project. Rushed construction led to serious structural problems. After completion, fish catches in the river declined. Shipping was blocked by seasonal freezing. Far more harm than benefit. The combined losses drained North Korea's foreign currency reserves completely dry. Then came 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed. The entire communist support network that had kept North Korea alive for decades, gone overnight. 1994, Kim Il-sung died. Then, from 1995, over 3 years, catastrophic floods and droughts hit simultaneously. 330,000 people starved to death. North Korea itself called this period the arduous march. In the years that followed, the average height of young North Korean men fell roughly 9 centimeters below the regional average, a direct result of widespread malnutrition. Not just a statistic, the physical mark left on an entire generation. And here's where the real mystery begins. By any historical standard, this country should have collapsed. Romania's Ceausescu, executed when the economy fell apart and the people turned on him, the Soviet Union, East Germany, both crumbled from within. But North Korea? Still standing. Why? Over decades, Kim Il-sung had constructed a near-perfect system of fear and control. One academic study noted that at the height of his power, Kim Il-sung held, on paper, more concentrated authority than Louis XIV. When the economy collapsed and public resentment grew, his response was simple. "The economy isn't failing because of me. The officials misimplemented my perfect orders. External forces are to blame. I am without fault." Absurd, but it worked. After inheriting power, Kim Jong-il purged 25,000 people identified as potential threats, then governed through fear, with the military placed front and center. And so North Korea, economically devastated, survived as a regime. Today, North Korea ranks dead last in the Global Economic Freedom Index out of 177 countries. Life expectancy sits more than 10 years below the world average. Its total foreign trade volume is among the lowest on Earth. And yet, it possesses at least 20 nuclear weapons and functional intercontinental ballistic missiles. When you can't compete economically, you pivot to asymmetric threat, the choices of one dictator. Pride, greed, and an obsessive need to protect his own power took a country that was once genuinely thriving and left it like this. Today we talked about a side of North Korea most people never knew existed. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be back with something even more interesting next time. Subscribe, hit like, and I'll see you there.